let Josh go for it. And thanks for hitting the recording, Karen.
You're welcome.
Was what my next part was.
Hi, friends. Good to see you, Karen and Carol, and everybody in the world. Hannah, which is my favorite name in the world, by the way. I'm sure you know why, because it's the same name backwards. And I don't know why. That's just always so. I wish I had a name that you could spell backwards and get the same. Wouldn't that be like, I don't know why. I'm always baffled by that. I am still a 5-year-old child somewhere up here, but I'm so excited to hang out with all of you tonight. Thank you so much for the intro. How many of you have read my book? Show me Jazzies if you've already. How freaking cool is that? I didn't even know that. I was like, should I promote the book tonight? I guess I don't need to promote the book tonight. Unless you haven't read my other book. So I have another book called The Best Version of You that is basically a life coach in a book. We give it away for free on the website. So you can go to joshcoates.com and get that for free if you pay for shipping. But we're going to dive into some really, really important stuff. Some of it you've heard some crossover from F Leadership. If you've read The Best Version of You, there's some crossover. But tonight, the main goal, this is what I want for you more than anything else. This is summertime. Okay. Does anyone else get a little bit stressed and overwhelmed during the summertime? I don't know about you guys, but I have 4 kids that are home. My wife is a caretaker for her mom. So nobody needs to feel sorry for me. We all know that men do like 1/20th of the work of a woman on a day-to-day basis. But for me, it's a lot to be home with the kids and run $1 million business. And life gets a little crazy. Season changes when we're entrepreneurs are always hard. Because when you go to work, the reality is you clock in, you clock out. There's things you have to do, and that's just what it is. When you're an entrepreneur, this is your work, right? And this thing is a blessing and a curse. I am so thankful for social media because of the fact that it has given me a chance to connect with people around the world without leaving my house. I also hate social media because every time you open one of the apps to work, you can get very distracted very quickly, especially when you have a lot of things going on. So tonight I want to talk to you. The number one thing that I want to help you to do is get clarity and focus so that you can both move your business forward this summer and check out and like hang out at the pool and have a beer if that's your vibe. If that's not your vibe, that's okay. It is my vibe. I will having a beer most days throughout the summer at the pool with the kids, hanging out and having fun. I do think that our brain naturally thinks it's one or the other. We're either all in on the business, we're going to push forward, we're going to make it happen, no excuses, I'm all in, or it's like, I can't handle that right now because there's too many other things going on, so I just need to take a step back. And that is the way our brain tries to process things, like one or the other. Our brain processes in extremes. If you don't believe me, watch some politics and you will see extreme in one direction and then extreme in the other direction. And I'm not really big on extremes because they're usually not healthy. And one of the most important things that I learned from going through a life coaching certification is that the healthiest way is usually somewhere in the middle. Okay. And so if we think we got to either be all in or take a step back, what if there's a middle space? And what if in this middle space, we are both so intentional, one of my favorite words that John Maxwell taught me, so intentional with our business that we get the right things done so that our business moves forward, but we're also just as intentional about our personal boundaries to make sure we're checking out and going and living the life we promised our family we were going to live. Does that make sense? Are you guys with me on that? Okay. I see a lot of gray squares, and I love you so much. No matter if you're a gray square or a profile picture or a live face, But I just want to say, even if you're shoving your face full of Ben and Jerry's right now, I don't care. I won't be offended. You're welcome to turn on your video if you're doing anything in the world other than peeing. Like if you're peeing, keep the video off. It's cool. None of us are trying to go viral on Taco Tuesday. But for any other reason, we would love to see your face. Also, it's kind of a proven fact that if your video is on, you're more likely to pay attention. You're more likely to absorb what you're taking in. For me personally, this is just me personally. When I turn my video off, I'm like, and then I didn't really learn anything, which kind of defeats the point of giving up your Tuesday night. So let's dig in. I want to teach you one of the most powerful lessons John Maxwell ever taught me. And some of you have heard of it, but you've maybe never applied it in this way. It is something called the Pareto principle. Another name for it would be the 80-20 rule. That's what it's kind of more commonly known as. The 80-20 rule says this. It is a global economic thing. Okay, this is not just for entrepreneurs. This is a proven statistic that someone found like 100 years ago, and it has stayed true since. And it says this, that in general, we spend 80% of our time doing things that get us 20% of our results. And then on the flip side, we spend 20% of our time doing the things that get us 80% of our results. It is human nature to assume we need more time than what we really need, and then accidentally kind of like waste most of that time doing stupid things like, I don't know if you've ever done this. I'm guilty of it too. So this is no judgment or shame toward you. It's just human nature. Researching for your next reel and accidentally watching other people's reels for like an hour and a half, and then somehow you're accidentally watching stand-up comedy reels, like watching Matt Rife for like 3 hours in the name of researching for my own content creation, or accidentally ending up in Canva for like 2 hours because you needed to make a simple graphic, but simple was only cool until you saw how many templates there were. And you're like, well, with this many templates, surely I can do something even cooler than what I was planning on doing. And then you change out colors, and then you change out fonts. And then an hour later, like, I don't even like this design. What the hell am I even doing? Like, we're going to start over. So we accidentally end up doing things that could be productive if done with like a 2-minute timer turned on, but most of the time churn into our entire workday. And then because we don't get the most important things done, what do we accidentally do? We accidentally take the things we know we're supposed to do with us in our brain as we go to hang out with the kids or to be with family or to be with friends. And it follows us everywhere we go, playing like a broken record in the back of our head, reminding us of what we're supposed to do. And then we get overwhelmed. And then we're like, oh, I need to take a step back. Anyone ever thought that before? And it's okay. We've all thought it. So there's no judgment here. There's no shame here. Okay. But 99 times out of 100, when we think our business is the thing that is overwhelming us, it is actually our own behaviors that are overwhelming us. Does that make sense? For me personally, because I learned from John Maxwell, who taught me some of these principles from the very get-go, my business has always been something that has actually made me more intentional, not only with business, but also with life. And it has actually made my relationships better. It's made me a better dad. Business should never make your personal life harder or more frustrating or more overwhelming unless we aren't paying attention to where our time and energy is going. So tonight, I want to teach you how to make more sales than you've ever made in your entire life in less time than you've probably ever spent on your business by focusing on 3 specific things. I call this the performance triad. And if you live by this, here's what's going to happen. You might not know what the hell anybody else is posting on social media for the next 30 days, but you will get your stuff done and you will have customers lined up and you'll have more money in your bank account. Someone will be like, did you see that like trending reel that everyone is doing? And be like, no, I forgot. I forgot to check for trending reels because I just been over here doing the things that actually matter. So I want to show you a quick little graphic. I actually just taught this. What is this today? Tuesday? I'm in the middle of doing a 3-day push for diamond challenge for like my whole email list, and we're doing workshops every single day. Meanwhile, booking flights to Vegas to go visit some clients and family visits. Like I said, the summer's crazy, right? This is why we need this. Oh, I can't share. Do you think you could either make me a co-host or just turn the security off? Whichever is best for you. It doesn't matter to me. I'm good either way. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, now I have to admit people. Will it still show up for you? Okay. Okay. Good. I don't want to have to admit people. I just want to share my screen. Okay. Here we go. Let's dive in.
I got it. I got that under control. Don't
Thank
worry.
you, friend. Thank you. Here's the top 3 things that if we put 80% of our time and energy into, our businesses will explode. Number 1 is the psychology of mindset. I'll dig into that a little bit more. Notice I didn't just say fix your mindset. A lot of people will say, fix your, what does that even mean? What does it mean to fix your mind? It's like telling Josh to go fix his Bronco. I own a Bronco. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I do cool things with it. I have no idea how to fix it. I take it to other people for that. Okay. But tonight we're going to dig into the psychology of how it actually works so you do know how to fix it. The psychology of sales and marketing. Do you know there's a psychology to that? Did you know that talking to 100 people is not necessarily the best game plan if you don't understand the psychology of how conversations work and what actually gets people to want to trust you and work with you? And then the third thing is high performance leadership systems. We're not going to spend as much time on the third thing. You've all read a book on that subject, which actually makes it even better because honestly, the first 2 I think are going to take up the most of our time. Okay. Everybody got a screenshot of that or got it written down? I want to introduce you to one of the top 3 quotes that changed my life forever. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So most of us understand how a garden works, right? If I wanted to plant a garden in the backyard to grow some strawberries, I love strawberries. So let's go with strawberries, okay? And I want you to imagine I plant a garden, my neighbor plants a garden, okay? And their strawberries are growing and mine are not. And I'm a little pissed. So I'm looking up on YouTube, TikTok, Google, all the different places, fastest way to get my strawberries growing. And they're giving me all of these tips on some topsoil to use, giving me tips on different ways to like line it up, different fertilizers that I can use, all of these different ways to try to speed up the process. And then you, because you're smarter than me, come and look at my garden and you say, Josh, you can pour fertilizer on it all day and night, but you have weeds all over your garden. What are you even doing, bro? Like, did you forget to skip the most important? You skipped the most important step of all gardening, any type of growth, which is get rid of the weeds, then plant the seeds. 99% of people that are doing personal growth and trying to work on themselves and trying to improve themselves are Josh in the backyard trying to grow strawberries with a whole bunch of weeds. And you look next door and you're like, how come she's having so much success? How come this is working so well for her? Is she like freaking superhuman? Do you guys have people you look up to that are maybe on this call that you're like, are they freaking superhuman? Like, what is their deal? Well, if you still have weeds in your garden, We can pour fertilizer. We can change out the topsoil. You can read 32 of Josh's books. I've actually only written two, but I mean, let's pretend you could read 32 different books and it wouldn't matter because you would still have weeds choking out your growth. And until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life. You will call it fate. I want to give you a little story from my own past, and I just want to be very, very, very clear. I am not anti-religion or anti-church, but I have a couple stories about the very specific church that I grew up in that was like this far away from being a cult. Okay. If you're on here tonight and you go to church and you're religious, trust me, you're not crazy like we were. Okay. So just bear with me for a second. You'll understand when you hear the story. So, for whatever reason, our church had this analogy they liked to use over and over and over and over. And they basically said it this way: if you have two planes that start off in LA and they're both trying to go to New York, but one of them gets off by even 1 degree, one of the planes that stayed on course will land in New York. The one that was off by 1 degree, by the time it gets to the other side of the country, will land somewhere in the middle of the ocean and be hundreds of miles away from the path. And that is why it is so important to follow God's exact plan for your life. I was told that as a 5-year-old. As a 5-year-old, I was told over and over and over that if I missed God's plan by 1%, 1%, that's like pretty extreme, okay? Hopefully, none of you are as crazy as I was growing up. That's how crazy we were. We were absolutely obsessed with having to be perfect. And if you weren't perfect, you were basically completely off course. And so my entire life, I have this story in my head that says if it's not perfect, it's completely wrong. So in my 20s, guys, I have a very entrepreneurial spirit. Okay. My senior year of high school, I took a web design class. This was before like there was like things like Canva. Like this was like real lame in comparison to what all of us can do now by just like popping open Canva and grabbing a template. But we had to start a fake business. And I started a clothing company and used Photoshop to like add my own like little logos to different t-shirts. And it was the coolest thing. I loved it. And I caught this vision for wanting to have my own business. Through my 20s, I played in bands. I got married really young, had kids really young, so I had to start working full-time jobs. But all through my 20s, I was constantly consumed by new ideas for businesses that could maybe give me and my family a better life. But do you know what happened? I get the idea. I'd get it set into motion because I'm a high energy person. For like 2 or 3 weeks, I'd be like, we're going to do this. This is going to be amazing. This is going to change my life. It's going to change our family. This is the best thing ever. And then after 2 or 3 weeks of hype, it would be like I'd run, boom, right into a brick wall. And I would start to feel all of the doubt. I would start to feel all of the insecurities. And this is the voice that I would hear. What if this isn't the perfect thing? What if this isn't the right thing? What if this is even just 1% wrong? And I would get so flooded with emotions. The only way I knew how to get away from these depressing thoughts and feelings was to just quit. The second I quit, all of the tension, all of the pressure gone. Josh could go on with life. Has anyone ever felt like I do a training, get really excited, and I'm like, oh my God, my life has changed? Or maybe you go to the company's conference or a retreat, you're like, my life, oh my God, I am a totally different person. This time I've changed. Everything's going to be different. Only to come home and have all your demons still waiting for you. I would love to see in the chat thread. I'd love for you to fill in this blank for me. I don't know if I can succeed because. And I just want you to fill in that blank for me. I don't know if I can succeed because. Can you fill that blank in for me in the chat thread? I would just love to see your answers. If that one's too challenging, you can try, I don't know if I'm good enough because. There they come. I can't stay consistent. My lack of time management. Keep them coming. I don't know if I can succeed because I'm too much for people. I don't know if I can succeed because I always give up when it gets too hard. I'm unorganized. My military job, however, that is changing next year. Love it. I worry too much about what other people think. Constantly take on more than what I need or I'm ready to. Someone said I'm not considerate. They sent that to me privately. I get overwhelmed. I don't have the time. Do you want to hear something really crazy? Now, if you've read my book, you actually do know this part of it. If you could do me a huge favor, don't send me the messages privately because then it automatically makes me try to respond privately and I got to go click on everyone every single time. So just send them to everyone. We'll all share together. We're all being vulnerable together. Okay. Do you guys remember this quote from my book? Our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. Our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. This is why it's so important to understand the psychology of our subconscious mind. Because when we have a deep rooted belief, it literally becomes the lens through which we see everything. I talk about how 2016 or 17, I bought my first brand new car. It was a black 4Runner. And there was a limited, which comes with like the chrome wheels and all the chrome on the sides and stuff. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get that one. I feel like it's a little extra special. That'll feel nice. I know, several people have 4Runners. So I'll get one that's like a little bit different than everybody else's. Drove it off the lot to find out every freaking person in Tulsa, Oklahoma has a black 4Runner limited. Every freaking person. Now, where in the world were those black 4Runner limiteds 2 days ago? Where were they? Anyone else ever bought a car only to find out that that car is everywhere? What is that? That is your subconscious mind becoming aware and then automating your ability to find things. Did you know that our subconscious mind tends to do that for negativity way more than it does for positivity? Do you know that? So if you think I'm not good enough because whatever that was that you filled in the blank, do you know that your subconscious mind literally spends all day and night finding all of the evidence for you to prove you right? Now, the subconscious mind is very powerful because it is the only thing that can save our life in an emergency. It's the only thing. But unfortunately, I was speaking on this morning. I want you to write this down. Our subconscious mind has a job to save us from life-threatening situations by reacting instantaneously. See if I can spell instantaneous. Sometimes I can say bigger words than I can spell. Instantaneously. Okay? Like that. Almost got ran off the road a week ago because someone wasn't paying attention. I don't know how you don't see a full-size Bronco on 37-inch tires next to you, but this person didn't. They swerved right into me, and I caught it out of my peripheral, and my subconscious mind snapped like that, swerved out of the way, and honked, probably cussed, all at the same time without thinking about it. I didn't even think. It was like 5 seconds later, that my adrenaline rush calmed down and I was like, what just happened? I almost died. Like how did I even swerve? Like I was Jason Bourne for a second, guys. I was like, whoa, look at me. I can just fly around the street. I'm freaking Jason Bourne. And that saved my life that day. But that same instantaneous reaction, this is very, very, very important. It doesn't care if it's a real threat or just a possible threat. It's not your brain's job to figure that out. Because if it did try to figure that out, it wouldn't be responding fast enough to save your life. Does that make sense to everyone? If my brain would have been like, wait a second, is that car really going to hit me or is it going to maybe miss me by a little? Done. I'm dead. It's over. Ball game. So our subconscious mind responds immediately on purpose because that's what it needs to do to save our life. But unfortunately, no one taught us enough about how our psychology works because the reality is our job and our responsibility as human beings is supposed to take the time to stop and process these floods of emotions to find out, are we really in a life-threatening situation, or is this just something that triggered me and felt unsafe? Can I give you an example? If I message someone, oh, I see you smiling for the picture. You got to warn me. I'll try to smile too. if we are, if we are on social media and we message someone and we're having like the greatest conversation ever, we're like, this person is going to be an absolute rock star. Like, I mean, we're vibing. Their energy is great. They seem so excited. They are like, want to change their lives so freaking bad. They are like this close to joining you, and then you send over the final details. Okay, so you send the final details. They see your message because we can see that they saw it, right? We see the bubbles pop up like they are responding, right? And then they don't respond. And now it's been 3 or 4 days. And we had the best conversation in the world, and out of nowhere, girl just ghosted us. Anyone ever had that happen? Now, be honest with me. Don't try to be all positive, growth oriented for Josh. Be honest with me. When that happens, what is the thought your brain has? What is the thought your brain? WTF. Yeah, exactly. Wasted my time. What did I do? What the hell? They don't like me. You could have just said no. Which I'm assuming by you could have just said no, kind of the undertone to that was like, that was kind of rude of you, right? Like you could have just gave me an actual response instead of like piecing out on me. What did I do wrong? Pissed off? Did I overshare? Now, it'll walk you through the power of these automated thoughts that our brain creates. Okay. Again, the fact was we messaged, they saw, didn't respond. The story that our brain automated before we even had time to think about it was they're rude. I messed up. I said too much. They could have at least responded. All of these different things. And when we think those specific thoughts, tell me the feelings you have. What feelings do you have when you think to yourself, they're rude, or I messed up, or I said too much? Discouraged, angry, pissed, annoyed? Keep them feelings coming. Come on. We're some feelers, right? Frustrated, irritated, defeated, confused, disappointed, angry, crushed, let down, flustered. Why? It's a lot of feelings, isn't it? And sometimes we feel all of those things all at the same time, right? And when we feel those things, What type of actions do we normally take? Move on, no action, stew, give up, shut down, procrastinate, vent to my team, step back, disengage. And when we take no action, shut down, procrastinate, disengage, step back, are more resistant, what results do we manifest? What results do we manifest when we shut down, disengage, and step back? What results do we manifest? None, nothing, negative, or zero profit? None, no results, no results, nothing. Next. You guys seeing the pattern that we created here? Our brain went to work like that to automate a story and a feeling and an action that would get us to pull away. I call this our caveman DNA. Its more scientific name would be the fight, flight, or freeze. And the reality is our brain is just trying to get us back to the cave where it knows we're safe. That's it. Are we actually bad? Nah. Did we actually do anything wrong? Probably not. I mean, you might have said something real stupid, but that's not wrong. It's not wrong to say something stupid. Is the reality is our head makes it all about us and forgets that the other person even really exists, or maybe even makes them rude. And when this happens, we will accidentally end up in a cycle over and over and over of repeating the same process over and over, because if we're not careful, we are looking outwardly for affirmation. We are looking for someone else to tell us we're doing a good job. If they sign up, we're good. If they don't sign up, we're bad. Now, I'm just going to be like super real with you. Doing this for 10 years, there are a lot more people that say no than there are that say yes. And if we don't find a way to make the unconscious conscious, in other words, become more self-aware of what is happening in here, success will become almost impossible. Because every time someone says no, it will just be further evidence of the story you have in your head about how you suck, or you don't have what it takes, or you're wrong. When we take the time to truly become aware and reprogram the process by which we put our brain comes from, I want everyone to write this down. We take control of our own fate. And that's why I fell in love with life coaching. I realized that my entire life, I technically have this thing called freedom based on legalities of the country that I live in. But I'm not really operating in total free will if I don't even know how my own brain works. What I'm really doing is I'm living out a repeated pattern that's been passed off to me by my parents, in my case, the church that I grew up in, the friends that I was around, the environments, the people and the places have shaped this, our brain, into who we are. And the thing that's really hard about business is that our brain is not the real us. It is just the adopted version of us. In other words, it's what we've adopted from other people along the way. There's something deeper. I call it our heart voice. that I believe is the real us. It is the divine. It is our divine nature. This is who you really are. And if you want to know who you really are, what you really, truly believe, quickest way to get there is to basically ask what you believe about other people, because most of the time we believe way better about others than we do about ourselves. You know why? Because when I'm helping someone else, I don't remember everything they've ever done that's wrong. I don't remember all the mistakes that they've made. And I'm not trying to keep them safe. I'm trying to help them. I want to help them move forward into their purpose and into their potential. And I want to inspire them. But when it comes to me, this thing gets in the way. Does that make sense? That's why it's really freaking important to understand how the subconscious works. Okay. If you don't have the best version of you, I highly recommend you go snag that book again. It's free. I literally give it away for free. You just have to pay for shipping. This isn't a sales or a marketing tactic. Okay. It's just that I don't have 10 chapters worth of time tonight to dig in deep enough to help you fix it. The biggest step tonight is make you aware of it so that you know where to put your focus. Does that make sense? Because if we don't put our, I'm just going to talk, I'm going to transition into the second point and talk a little bit about sales and marketing, because I love sales and marketing. It's so fun. But I need you to understand this. No amount of tips or tools or trainings or strategies will ever matter if we don't take care of this. Does that make sense? So you have to take care of this. Okay. Now, let's transition a little bit into sales and marketing, because I talked about the psychology of sales and marketing. And I want to show you something that I kind of created based on everything that I learned as a life coach. So here's what happened for me. I spent my whole first year giving away free sessions, doing all the things John Maxwell taught me. And man, people loved these sessions. They were like, dude, that was amazing. You just changed my life. But here was the problem. No one was giving me money. Anybody ever have people like, oh, you're so inspirational, way to go? And you're like, so why don't you do it? And they're like, I could never be you. I could never. I just want to cheer you on. And you're like, that's so nice of you, but I can't pay my electric bill with thank yous and cheers. Hey, I don't have the money this month, but everyone on Instagram said I'm really inspirational. So I was hoping you'd just give me a pass. Doesn't really work like that, does it? So in year 2, I did this crazy thing kind of out of desperation. I said, what if? So like when I think of sales, let me know if you agree with this. When I think of sales, I think of like saying the right things and being so convincing that people are like, yeah, I trust you and I want to give you my money. And that wasn't really working for me. But my life coaching tools that I had been given, life coaching is all about asking questions that get people to go inwardly and essentially open up their own subconscious and get down to their own truth and find their own power. Okay. And I thought to myself, if life coaching takes people from I'm really frustrated and overwhelmed to I am so lit on fire, I want to chase my dreams. What if the same exact principles could get people from I'm not sure if I'm ready to invest or make this decision to sign me up right now? And so I started experimenting with it. And I found that life coaching worked 1,000 times better for selling than trying to say the right things or convince anyone. Changed the whole ball game for me. And it's crazy. I did sales this way for 8 years without ever explaining it to anyone, because sometimes you learn things along the way that you don't really realize are anything that special. You ever done that before? So people are like, you are so good at that. And you're like, what do you mean? I just like wake up and just do that. It's not a big deal, right? So I did it for 8 years, made 7 or 8 million dollars in sales. And then I launched my own life coach certification. And so I was teaching people how to build a business from ground zero, people with no experience, nothing. I had to just teach them everything. And I was teaching this uh my version of sales. And this girl that was in the group who had done network marketing before and been in my network marketing training, she said, Josh, I've done like 20 of your network marketing trainings. Why have you never taught me this about sales? This is the greatest thing I've ever heard on sales. And I said, what are you talking about? Like, your upline probably taught you that. He's like, no, my upline didn't teach me this. Corporate didn't. No one has ever said this. Why have you been holding out on me? And that's when I had my wake up call and realized that I'm called to teach people sales and marketing because I do it in a really special way that really changes the game and makes everything in the world easy. Are you ready to learn it? You guys ready to learn it? I have technically a full on, I'm going to give you two things. Okay. The first thing is sales psychology, specifically more around like our posts and stories. Okay. So this would be what I would call one to many messaging, one to many. Okay. And then I have a second thing that is one-on-one messaging. So this would obviously be more for like in the inbox, in the DMs, whatever that was. Okay. I don't have time to teach both of those things, but I have a really special present for you. If you go to joshcoates.com, there is a training on there called Questions That Convert, and it's totally free. Okay. You can just go download it. You can have the whole thing. I literally walk you through the psychology of it. And I walk you literally through the exact questions I use to ask people in the exact order. So, like one-on-one, just go get that. Cool. Everybody good with that? Go get that. Okay. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the posting side of things. Okay. So this is what I call the belief bridge. And this is what we kind of tend to naturally do without thinking about it. So we used to be over here on the left side. Everybody, can you see my cursor circling this guy falling off? Okay. We all used to be over here, but then we found some products and we found an opportunity and personal growth and all these things that completely change our life. And we transformed into a new human that crossed from one side of the bridge to the other. We are now over here. We are transformed beings. Everyone show me some jazzes if you have become like a totally, completely new person because of the work that you have done. The problem is transforming is the best thing in the world for our own growth. It's the worst thing in the world for sales and marketing. Because we get over to the other side and we accidentally forget that along the way we have learned some new terminology. We have developed some new habits, some new behaviors, and some new values. And what we tend to do is get to the other side. And then thank you, Lottie, for putting that link there. There's the link for the questions that convert. We get to the other side and then we turn around and we kind of just yell and scream it at other people thinking they should get it. And when they don't get it, we get frustrated. Why don't they get it? You ever get frustrated with your audience? Anyone ever like, why in the world is it when I post something about my family or my dog, it gets a million comments, and then I post something about the business, crickets? What is wrong with everyone? Why do they hate me so much? Why does no one get it? This is really important. If your audience isn't responding, it's not because they're bad listeners. It's because we are bad communicators. I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm saying it so soft because I love you so much, and I never, ever, ever want this to come across as judgmental or shameful. We are humans. It's just human nature. We all do it. Okay? If people aren't responding, it's not because they're bad listeners. It's because we're bad communicators. Okay. There's something that I call, forgive me for bringing up another church analogy, but I call it bad church sign marketing. So me and my wife, we live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we were on our way to Oklahoma City to go to a concert. There was a really bad wreck, so we got diverted off to some random side highway where we had to go through a lot of like tiny little Oklahoma towns. If you've ever been to Oklahoma, there's Tulsa and there's Oklahoma City, and then there's nothing. Nothing for miles upon miles upon miles. So we're driving down one of these side highways going through nothingness for like an hour. And we pass this church. And on the sign, it says this. It says, Jesus is the living word of God. Now, if you grew up in church like me, you know exactly what that means. It makes sense. If you did not grow up in church, you have no freaking clue what that's even talking about at all. Like that doesn't even sound like English. It sounds like a foreign language. And Josh has his marketing hat on, as he pretty much always does. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this church is anything like most churches, their goal is probably to reach new people, to get new people to come because hopefully they have good intentions and want to help people, right? They want to raise money, want to, give to missions or whatever it is they want to do. Are there not a million things they could have put on that sign that would have got the attention of someone who doesn't go to church there and made them think something nice or pleasant? How about this? How about feeding the poor? You don't have to use the word poor, but this Saturday morning. If I would have saw that sign, you know what I would have done? My immediate thought would have been like, that's really cool. I like that. They could have said free marriage classes every Wednesday night. Again, I'd have been like, that's pretty cool. They could have said, are you having a bad day? Are you having a bad day? We offer hope. I mean, there's like a million positive things they could have said that a normal average person would have saw, understood, had good feelings toward, and if and when they decide to check out a church, that one would probably be top of the list. But instead, they took language that only they understand and put it on a sign, which makes everyone from the church who drives by go, amen. And makes everyone else go, what the hell? And so it did the exact opposite of what the sign was intended to do. And we do the same thing with our social media sometimes. We throw out random facts about our products and about our business opportunity that nobody in the world even knows what the hell we're talking about. And then we get frustrated when our church sign doesn't get any new members to show up this Sunday morning. And people in our company will sometimes be like, way to go. Amen, sister. Way to say it. Way to tell them. And we're like, yeah, I did it. But the reality is we didn't do nothing. We got the people who are already on our team to cheer for us, but we didn't attract any new people. So we didn't really get the job done. So this is very, very, very important. Sales is less about you, your products, what you offer, and it's more about your ideal client and the solution they want and need. It's not about you. Messaging, it's not about me at all. This call tonight, not about me. When we're done with this call, the only measurement of how well I did is how well I connected with you and got you to understand something new so that you could take better action and get better results. It has nothing to do with me. If I get on here with all the charisma in the world but fail to connect with you, I suck. I'm the worst speaker in the world. Doesn't even matter. The idea is we have to spend more time, and I'm going to give another shameless plug for something that's totally free. So I hope it's okay to shameless plug my own stuff that's free. If you go through the questions that convert, you're going to find that in one-on-one conversations, we spend 90% of our time asking questions, letting them talk. What's really cool is it leads to more sales. But the other thing that's really cool is it gives us all of the data and information we need to go write better posts now that we know their language, what they want, what they care about. Does that make sense? I used to tell my best friend, I said, dude, you know what's crazy? I said, I have the most unfair job in the world because as a life coach, people pay me thousands of dollars to sit and listen to them. And every single session, I get better at knowing what my ideal client wants and needs and the language that they use and what they call it. And I'm literally getting paid to do market research to go be better at sales. If you do this right, you should get better at your messaging daily by spending more time listening. I'm going to give you a couple ideas to start getting better at this. Okay. Use your engagement posts to get the info you want. So I'll give you a real easy one. Okay. For me personally, I obviously help people with their businesses. So I like to do engagement posts on Facebook and say, when it comes to your business, what is the hardest thing about trying to make more sales? You know what people love to do? People love to share their opinions. They love it. It's great for us. If we'll just like shut up and let them share, we can get better at what we do. And people will be like, I don't know how to get more followers, or I don't know how to close sales, or I don't know how to talk to people. And you know what I do? I sit and I watch for the most common answers that get repeated over and over and over and over. And I take that and I turn it into content. So I might write an email or make a post like someone, if I hear like 10 different people all say, it feels spammy to talk to people. You know what I'll do? I'll go write an email and I'll say how to close 3 sales this week without being spammy. And I'll literally write a whole email showing that my sales messaging system is the only one in the world that feels authentic and feels natural and feels like you're serving people instead of spamming people. Does that make sense? I've even had a training that I've done several times that I call the anti-sales challenge. And the whole point of it is I've heard over and over and over that people hate sales. So I said, cool, let's hate it together. Let's do an anti-sales challenge and let's teach you sales from a totally different perspective. F leadership, by the way, was inspired by hearing client after client after client after client say, I don't think I'm good enough of a leader to build a business. So you know what I finally said? I said, F leadership. Let's talk about what it really is. Everything I've ever put out content wise has always been a response to the things my audience are already talking about. Does that make sense? When you do this, one, you get more engagement because you're having a conversation that they actually care about. Two, you're able to start getting past people's limiting beliefs. This is really important. Did you know that the same way we have unconscious stories playing in the back of our head, they have unconscious stories playing in the back of their head? And the more questions we ask, the more we can find out what those limiting beliefs are so that we can address them with our content. Makes sense? The third thing is we can set ourselves apart. I love one of my favorite things. I love making this post. What is the worst business advice you've ever been given? And I literally just sit and let everyone spew all the stupid things that they have been told. And then I take those stupid things and I work them into my content to show people that I'm not the person who says these kind of stupid things. Does that make sense? Polarizing content is really, really good. It really gets people's attention when you have something that you can kind of pin yourself against. Does that make sense? You don't want to be the person. This is really important. I really, really hope if you don't get anything else about the content, I really hope you get this. You do not want to be the person saying the same thing that everybody else is saying, because then you're not really needed. If all I do is just regurgitate John Maxwell content, and I do share some because I love the guy and I learned so much from him. But if I literally just regurgitate his content without making it my own, why the hell do you need to join my group? No one's joining my performance small group if I'm literally just reading a John Maxwell book out loud. You might as well just go get his book. Save yourself some money, save yourself some time, and just go read his book. But what I've gotten really good at is taking the same principles and applying them so specifically to network marketers that you'd rather work with Josh because he's going to translate it for you and help you see exactly how it works in network marketing. John Maxwell's never going to do that. He's great. He's wonderful, but he's not going to do an entire training and break it down to how it works for network marketing because he doesn't know that world. He hasn't spent enough time in that world. It's really, really, really important that you distinguish yourself even from the other people that are here tonight. How do you do that? By listening to your audience, because your audience is different than everyone else's. You have your own vibe and your own unique friends and followers that might not be this much different from everyone on the call, but they're this much different from everyone on the call. And this much is the thing that gets their attention. Does that make sense? Just listen to this for a second. We have life coaches. Okay. We have life coaches for business owners, life coaches for entrepreneurs, a life coach for network marketers, life coach for network marketers that need help with their sales. Notice how each line I'm getting a little bit more specific. Did you guys notice that? Every time I get a little bit more specific, I become a little more valuable to you. How many of you on here would rather have the life coach for network marketers that helps you with sales than a life coach? You see the difference there? The specificity is all of the value in the world. And I heard someone say one time that like every time you niche down one step further, you just add a zero to the price tag. A life coach all by themselves is worth, I don't know, $100 an hour maybe. Life coach for network marketers that need help with sales. Guys, I charge like $2,000 an hour. Would you rather $100 an hour or $2,000 an hour if you're the person getting paid? Now, obviously, you guys don't actually raise your prices because your company sets it. But how much faster can you earn trust and make sales? See the difference there? The specificity is everything. Okay, so make sure you go to joshcoates.com, grab the questions that convert. Okay, and also, I don't know if you guys know this, but we recently added the audio version of the best version of you. That is a brand new thing. I've been recording that in the background. So if you're someone who prefers to listen to audiobooks, you can grab the best version of you. And when you download it, you'll get the audiobook right away as well. So make sure and grab those free resources. Dig into that stuff. If I could give network marketers one singular resource that would change their business more than anything in the world, it'd be the questions that convert. It really is that game changing. When you go through it, you're going to be like, what? And this is some Jedi shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say shit, but I just did. So too late. Sorry. This is some Jedi shit. Because when you ask questions to people, I want you to just think about this for a second. Is for those of you that are married, is your husband more likely to change his behavior if you tell him to or if he decides to? Yeah, I think it's the second option, right? It's the second. Someone said neither. That's hilarious. Amy wins the internet today. You win, Amy. You win. You win. So life coaching is this beautiful thing where when I ask the right questions, it gets other people to admit out of their own mouth that they're struggling with something and that they need to change it. And when it comes out of their own mouth, what are they going to do? Argue with themselves about it? If I try to tell people they need to change or they need to buy something, defenses immediately come up. But if I just ask questions that get someone to say out of their own mouth that they're struggling with something, they wish it could actually be like this, but instead they're stuck over here, they have just opened themselves up to being in the perfect place to want a solution, because to not want a solution would be to argue with themselves. I already told you earlier, our limiting beliefs constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. Once we grab onto an idea, we go look for evidence to prove it right. So when someone says they're struggling and they need to change, whether it's the products or the business opportunity, once they say it out of their own mouth, it's really hard for them to tell you they don't want to hear more about what you offer. Make sense? Okay, I'll shut up now. I could go all night long, but some of you got to sleep tonight. I probably should sleep tonight because I got another workshop tomorrow morning. But I appreciate you guys so much. Any closing things you guys want to throw in? I mean, you can take over. I'll just hand it back to you.
Thanks, Josh. You're the best. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Josh as we wrap up tonight? Just want to say thank you. Make sure you guys say thanks in the chat. Put your best takeaway in there. He gave us so much information. I really hope you guys go get those documents. Go grab his book. It's really good. And we really appreciate you being on here tonight. Karen, Hannah, you want to say anything?
I just want to say thanks. It was really, really good. Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome. Thank you, friend. Thank you.
Yes, and we threw Josh's website in there. We definitely did his F leadership book on our book club. Amazing. Josh, I was telling my team, I have not highlighted, other than John Maxwell, like I have not highlighted as much from that book. It was definitely business changing for us when you read it. So make sure you guys grab that too as well.
And don't you feel like that it was probably the most popular book club book we've done, like as far as takeaways? Like so many people were like, oh my gosh, like the football stadium analogy, or that, you know what I mean? There were so many good takeaways.
Yes. And you never judge a book by its title either, because, this is church going Hannah over here that recommends this F leadership book. So, yep.
It definitely had to break down some walls to get some people to read the book. I'm pretty sure I lost a corporate speaking gig over having a book called F Leadership. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
But other people will be drawn to you because of it. So it's
polarizing. It's polarizing, right?
Oh, well, no questions, but lots of thank yous. So thank you, Josh. We appreciate you. And then Karen, you've got did you record it on?
Yeah, I did the recording. I don't know if it's going to my computer or if it's going to Zoom. It's
will you text me and let me know so then I know, because it normally comes to my computer so I can load it.
I'll check it.
Okay. Can you guys all do me a favor? I'm really, really, really wanting I used to do this so much, and I kind of took a break from it. And sometimes when you take a break from something, it just kind of like dies off and people stop asking you to do it. I used to speak at retreats all the time. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So if all of you could just like nag a little bit to get Josh to it, I want to come spend time with people. Like the pandemic shut the whole world down, and I kind of stopped doing retreats, stopped doing events. And then I kind of just got in the habit of not doing that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Really want to get back out there and give people some hugs and sign some books and hang. So if you want to like just nag them about that, I'm just putting them on the spot right in front of all of you guys. Just give them a good old nag because I want to come hang out with you. Okay, I'll shut up.
Okay, thank you.
you're like, screw you, bro. Screw you.
No, they'll nag us to death. We'll have to do one and invite you. So yeah. For sure.
Okay. No pressure though.
No pressure.
Pressure them so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a great night. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you next week.